The 2025 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 only has competition from Ferrari, and I'm going to tell you why. So it seems that in my last video, there were a few comments, and not only on just YouTube, but just other platforms and whatnot. But there were just a few comments and just people that didn't necessarily, not so much agree with where I was coming from, because whether or not you agree with me, it is what it is. You know, you're free to think however you like, but more so not willing to open up to the way of thinking or my perspective of what the ZR1's competition would look like, and ultimately, which would ultimately dictate where its price would land, MSRP. So the reason I bring that up is the SF90 Ferrari and the 296 GTB are its top competition at the moment. And I'm going to tell you why. Because anything else that's on the market right now, combustion wise, like we're not talking about EVs. EVs are whatever, right? They make 1,000 to 1,200 wheel horsepower depending on which one you get. Right now, there's nothing on the market that would be more dangerous, or not even so much danger. There's no more serious competition, or competition that's more serious than the SF90 Ferrari and the 296 GTB. And some people would say, oh, but what about the Revuelto that has 1,000 horsepower? What about the 765 LT? What about the Turbo S? GM went crazy with this one because it's not a little horsepower bump. It's not a little, oh, it makes 200 extra horsepower over a Z06. It makes even 300 horsepower over a Z06. No, this thing makes nearly 400 more horsepower than a Z06. And the Z06 is all about horsepower because they don't make no torque. And this thing makes almost 400 more horsepower. Really, like what? 395? If my math is off, 395, 396 more horsepower. If we're going to do it down to the ones, but like that's a huge bump in power. But not only that, this thing makes nearly double the torque of a Z06. So you're adding 400 horsepower. You're almost doubling the torque. This is literally an additional car. Like the difference in power between the ZR1 and the Z06 is literally a very fast sports car. A decently quick sports car. About 400 horsepower and about high 3s, low 4s in pound-feet of torque. That is a very, very formidable sports car right there. And that's the difference between these two cars. Now, again, I'm going to keep this quick. I don't want to drag this video out too long. So, right now, what I think the SF90 and the 296 GTB are its main competition, because if we look at it, nothing's keeping up with those cars. You know, like they're smoking everything left and right. People thought the Revuelto was going to be big and bad. I don't know why. Because first off, Lamborghini dropped a car and they said it's going to make 1,000 horsepower combined with its EV powered, with the V12 mixed with its EV powertrain. Alright, the V12 makes just over 800 horsepower. The EV fills in the rest of the gap and jacks it up to 1,000. That's great. The V12 only powers the rear axle, and the EV powers the front. That's great. We've heard it before. We've seen it done before. But now the Revuelto comes out and it's getting smashed by the 296 GTB, and the Revuelto's in Corsa and performance mode. So Corsa for the driving characteristics, and performance mode for the EV powertrain. So it's in its top settings. It's keeping the 296 is keeping up with it, if not bullying it. By not being able to get away from the 296. And then you put it next to the SF90, the Revuelto. You put it next to the SF90, and what happens? Corsa mode, performance mode, and it's getting smashed. And the SF90 is from 4 years ago. The 296 GTB just came out.
It's a damn shame.
Bullying the Revuelto. It's too easy. Why? They have turbos. Like, what's the one thing missing from those cars? What's the one thing missing from the Revuelto that those cars have? Turbos. And everybody think, oh, it's because of how they do the EV. It's because of this. It's because of that. They have less weight, and they have turbos. So that means they don't need the EV to have torque. That means they're going to have torque regardless of the EV powertrain. And that's something that the Revuelto just can't do. V8 turbocharged sedans make more torque than a Revuelto, the V12. With the EV included, maybe it's different, but you know, against its other competition from $500,000 to $700,000, that doesn't really matter. But again, this video is not just about the Revuelto being subpar. It's about the ZR1 main competition being the SF90 and the 296, and why that's going to dictate the absolutely astronomical markups. And I'm telling you, it's coming. Like some of the guys in the comments, and I appreciate you guys, you know, just commenting and just letting me know your thoughts in my last video about it. Definitely appreciate the guys that were just giving their 2 cents and just giving what they thought about the video, as well as their knowledge on the situation and how they're reacting to it. I appreciate all you guys. You know, everyone that left a like and left the views and watched the video. Again, appreciate everybody for doing that. Yeah, like a lot of us, we're seeing that like the Corvette with this type of performance, the base asking price is going to be Turbo S. It's going to be Turbo S levels. I'm telling you, the 992 Turbo S, which is like 200-something thousand, and you can easily get it up to 250 before getting any PTS, paint to sample paint jobs that cost $100,000 or something. Like before you even do any crazy options like that, you can easily get a Turbo S to $250,000, 992, 911 Turbo S, right? And I'm going to show you what a 765 LT, which is rear-wheel drive, will do to a Turbo S with no prep. I'll give you a hint. The Turbo S isn't going anywhere.
Oh, come on.
Mind you, the Turbo S all-wheel drive.
Oh, no way!
Decently light. Decently light in general, but for a 911, it's kind of heavy. But 650 horsepower all-wheel drive,
yeah.
it torque. And guess what happens in a quarter mile versus the 765 LT? It gets hawked. It gets ran down.
Alligator.
It's gonna get ran down, right? Why? Because the 765 LT has more power, but not only that, even though it's rear-wheel drive, it has a lot of mechanical grip. Once it slips a little bit, it catches itself, it catches traction, and then it's running, right? And that's what 765, 755, however much actual horsepower it makes at the flywheel. Now imagine the ZR1. The ZR1 isn't going to catch traction as easy as a 765. That's just what it is, right? It's not. It makes too much power, and it's rear-wheel drive. It's going to slip a little bit. The 911 Turbo S is probably going to stay out ahead a little bit longer just because the ZR1's going to be spinning a little bit. Let the GM engineers tell it. They're saying that the ZR1 is going to accelerate from 0 to 60 slower than a Z06 solely because of the amount of power it makes. Because it's not just horsepower, it makes crazy torque. 828 pound-feet of torque with no EV on 93 pump gas, Dodge. So it's like this thing is serious. So once it slips, but it has all that power. Once it slips, but then catches traction with all of that power, do I think it's gonna run down a 911 Turbo S the same way a 765 does in a quarter mile? I don't know yet, because we have to see how much wheel spin we're talking about. Based on what the 765 LT did, I think in a quarter mile it's definitely gonna catch up. After the quarter mile, the Turbo S is getting obliterated. Like obliterated. Like it's not gonna be funny. It's not gonna be it's gonna look bad. Like people that bought Turbo S's are gonna look at this and be like why is this Corvette, you know, the budget supercar, when you can't afford an actual supercar? Let some people tell it. I don't think that. Let some people tell it, when you can't afford an actual supercar, you get a Corvette. Why is this thing blowing the doors off a Turbo S from factory? You can get a Turbo S lightweight if you want. That will get bullied and destroyed by this car too, based on the numbers. And I say all that to say this. Put that 765 LT versus the 296 GTB. 296 GTB is just a few hairs off of the SF90. Because the SF90, that thing can't even bully a 296 GTB. The 296 GTB is honestly the scariest car that's in the ZR1's competition, because everyone thinks it's the SF90 because it's the most popular, and it probably still is the quickest competitor in reality. But it's the fact that the way everybody would discount the 296, everyone would discount the 296 because it's like, oh, the 296 is it's the little baby car. It's not a SF90. It's not this. It's not that. Forgetting that it makes 830 horsepower all to the rear wheel, not to the rear wheel. The power is getting sent to the rear wheels. It doesn't make that at the wheels, but it's making 830 horsepower that gets sent to the rear wheels, and it doesn't even know how to lose traction. You step on that thing, it launches like a Turbo S. It doesn't know how to lose traction with 830 horsepower going all the way to the rear wheels. Right? And all the way to the rear wheels. 830 horsepower going to the rear wheels. That thing doesn't know how to slip. All it does is just run down competition. 296 GTB versus Revuelto. Door to door with ease. And if it's not door to door, it walks the Revuelto down. It's ugly. The big bad Revuelto is definitely big. Gets ran down by a 296 GTB. I know how much a 296 GTB costs.
Performance mode.
The thing's like I think the GTS, the Spider version, easily goes for like almost $500,000. The GTB, which is the coupe, that's like what, mid fours? Come on, man. Look at the type of cars that this thing is running next to. Look at the type of cars it has to deal with. Serious competition. Put it into perspective. It's like, what do you guys think if the car MSRP is $250,000? What do you think the markup is going to be when you put it next to a $250,000 Porsche and a Porsche is getting obliterated? The Porsche looks like a base model next to this. It's going to look like a base model next to this thing. What do you think it's going to cost? Because if from GM, if they're like base price with no options is $180, maybe even 200,000. Let's just say it's 180. Let's say fully spec'd out is 250, 260, right? With every option you can get. Matter of fact, let's call it 250. Every option you can get 250, right? What do you think the markups are going to be if you put it next to $250,000 cars, it smokes those, and then the actual performance it has is more on par with $500,000, $600,000, and $700,000 cars. 765 LT, $500,000. SF90, $500,000. 296 GTB, $500,000. Revuelto, $600,000. Like, come on now. I'm not making this up. I'm just trying to put it in perspective for people, because like I see a lot of guys, I've been seeing a lot of YouTube videos, they're saying, you know, they're kind of resting on their laurels about, oh, it's still a Corvette, so you know, MSRP might be 130, MSRP might be 150. 150? Bruh. Alright, the Z06 is 106. I'll give you that. The Z06 MSRP is 106. The Stingray started at 64. So 64 to 106, right? And if you're like, oh, let's add 50,000 to it, alright, 150 something. You think you're getting 1,000 horsepower, over 1,000 horsepower on 93 pump gas in both coupe and convertible form, and you think you're getting all of that for $150,000? Like, that's what I want people to sit there and think about. You think you're gonna get that for $150,000? Let me put it in more perspective like this. Let me put it in perspective. You're gonna get more power than a Bugatti Veyron, more power than a Koenigsegg Agera, base Agera. I think more power than an Agera R on pump gas, because on 93 the Agera R makes like almost 1,100 horsepower, but on pump gas, no, it doesn't. The thing makes more power than an SF90. That's an EV with a combined powertrain. Makes more power than a Revuelto. Makes more power than a 296. This thing's torque figure and the 296's combined horsepower figure is damn near the same number. This thing makes 828 pound-feet of torque on 93, while the 296 horsepower combined out of its twin-turbo V6 with its EV powertrain is 830. You think you're going to get this for 150 before options. Go back through this video and look at everything I just named that this thing is going to be running with. Nothing's under 250. Not one thing is under 250. And you think you're about to get this for 150. All this competition that it's about to be running with is 500,000 or more. Literally, you know the car is fast when its cheapest, lowest competition is a $250,000 Turbo S. If that's the lowest of your competition, you're in serious territory. It's a serious car. I don't think they're giving you this for anything less than 200. That's one. Two, the dealerships they're definitely not letting you get this for anything less than like 4. And like, can you even blame them? All its competition is $500,000 and up, besides the Turbo S. And what I think GM is gonna unfortunately do is alienate a lot of their they're gonna alienate a lot of their core customers. And ZR1, like the ZR1 enthusiasts, I think they already alienated them with the C8 production as a whole. You know, moving the engine in the back, being a budget Ferrari, blah blah blah. But the Corvette enthusiast, the guy that says, all right, I can't do the supercar interior, the supercar this, the supercar that, but I want the performance. They're alienating that guy, the Corvette, the Corvette enthusiast. They're alienating him because it's like that guy gets a Corvette because he doesn't necessarily want, or maybe he necessarily can't pay for a McLaren. He can't pay $300,000 for a McLaren. He can't pay $500,000 for a SF90, a used SF90. He can't pay $500,000 for a 296 GTB. But what does he do? He buys a Corvette for $150 and can keep up with any one of those. But now this Corvette that's probably gonna not only keep up but be faster than those. Yeah, you'd be lucky if this thing doesn't cost $250, to be honest. Because again, and these are the same questions that I asked in the last video, the same questions that I posed. Ask yourself this: from $0 to $1 million, and I beg people to put it in the comments. They may have missed it. From $0 to $1 million, name me any car, any production car that's not limited, a real production car that's not a code red GT500 Mustang. Name me any real production car that makes 1,000 horsepower on pump gas that's not $1 million. From $0 to $1 million, name me any car that makes 1,000 horsepower on pump gas from factory. Factory warranty. It's not limited edition. It's a production car that supposedly, quote unquote, anyone could buy. Name me that. Like, name me any car. Any production car that's not an EV. Any production car that's not an EV that makes 1,000 horsepower on pump gas. It can't be EV when I say a car that makes it on pump gas for less than $1 million. Name me any car you want. I'll wait. I'll be in the comments and I'll be looking. But again, this was a shorter video. I didn't want to drag it out too much. I just kind of wanted people to think about it, and more so just to explain my thoughts on why I believe the ZR1 price is going to be easily 200 to 250, and why I wouldn't be surprised if markups brought it up to 500,000. But again, I'm gonna keep it short, so you guys let me know what you guys think in the comments. You guys safe up, stay sturdy, man.